or they will have a trade. Bring retirement down to 60 across the board too. It's all ideas. Someone will always find a fault if it is or isn't in their interest. P.S. Option A, but I also lean to Darwinian theories too. Survival of the fittest, etc. Would love to carry on, but jobs to do, then go do a late shift. Bye. Now person C comes in. I would rather have Miss Thatcher in charge any day than Blair, and we must thank him for his open door policy on immigration for this country, which half of them are on benefits. More money down the plug hole. I respond, I can reveal to you a threat to jobs and the monetary system far more virulent and larger than all the immigration waves in history. Are you ready? Technological replacement of human labour. Are you going to propose that we roll back technological invention just so we can keep the system of money and keep us enslaved in jobs? And person C responds, Adam, wow, you're a funny guy. Perhaps you should be an MP. Person B interjects, back briefly, academia is not suited to all. Although national service was pseudo-militarized to give it structure, it provided a means of advancement by practical means. Allow a person to achieve their potential, therefore evolving. By the responses in your post, Adam, you appear well educated and have time on your hands. Fair play to you. However, everything at present has a financial value. Finances need to be earned unless you inherit, claim benefits, or are well maintained. My austerity is I work on average 42 hours a week. My wife works part-time 18.5 hours. We struggle to make ends meet since the cuts started, and the cuts are going further. My wife is likely to be redundant later this year through local authority cuts. We don't have Sky. We haven't had a proper family holiday. We don't smoke, hardly drink, go out, etc. So there is austerity on the mid to lower levels of society, whilst old money and the super rich keep coining it in with impunity. I respond, how can a person evolve through blindly following orders and not questioning anything? I'm not posting here to garner compliments about my so-called intelligence. I'm posting to discuss issues. I'm not well educated. I'm self-educated. And the quantity of time I have on my hands is irrelevant. Everything has a financial value, and money actually is not required for life. If that were the case, then money would be ubiquitous for every human being on planet Earth. This is obviously not the case. So why should your austerity be considered as anything more than a particular arrangement of deck chairs on the Titanic? Did you not acknowledge the clash between the fantasy of infinite growth and infinite consumption that the monetary system requires and the finite reality of this planet's resources? I'll put it another way. Do you think someone with terminal cancer will live forever? Person B responds, no, of course not. Had first-hand experience witnessing that example. The ideas were based on this country's structure and evolution, or my understanding of it. Just ideas, could be right, could be very wrong. Life is virtually unique as it's beyond fiscal value. My particular plight is probably replicated across the country. The system worked once through various meddling. It no longer does. It tilts too far in either direction. The alternatives are stark, but finding fault and not accepting other ideas/opinions, I feel is counterintuitive. This world is too fixated on the superficial, and greed is good. I occasionally despair, but we are what we are. Onwards and upwards, as they say. I respond, I've noticed a pattern of you not answering my questions. Why is that? Why base on economic policy of a country? Why can't we base it upon what sustains human life and facilitates well-being and fulfillment? Oh, is it because when you base something on that, you find that you can't make money? What alternatives have you deemed as stark? No, the world is not fixated on those things. The human mind, due to capitalist conditioning, is fixated on those things. Like I said, this sort of thing is not ubiquitous. You say onwards and upwards, but you don't advocate moving past the need for monetary systems. So really, you're going round and round, not onwards and upwards. Person B responds, Very high academically, but narrow thinking, I see. When I use the term world, it is with a social/economic tense rather than the physical tense, which, as you rightly say, is not the norm. But not answering your questions? Maybe I have answered them, just not in the way you were expecting. Are you fishing for confrontations, I wonder? Maybe I've bitten a bit now, but I have no more time to waste on this debate, as I am about to commence my slavery to the corporate world, as you may phrase it. I respond, narrow thinking. I consider the survival, prosperity and happiness of life on the planet as a whole, and that qualifies as narrow thinking? When you consider things socio-economically, do you take all the necessary factors into consideration? And yes, you have dodged several questions I have asked, and that isn't fishing for confrontation at all. It's called manners. My repeated question of infinite growth versus finite resources you have repeatedly dodged. The vast majority of your last comment alone was your opinion about my character and your excuse to leave the discussion. You can see why I call you out for being evasive now. It's not just a case that you don't want to answer the questions, but rather that you can't. Person C interjects, There, and I thought it was the Jeremy Vine show, not the Adam Zeitgeist Antium show, 2 exclamation marks. Well done for speaking up against Adam. Of course he is a far superior human being to us working class people. That's why he slates off nearly everyone who has made comments on this subject and belittles us. I am clearly not capable of having any thoughts on this subject, as he already mentioned. No, I didn't. I wonder what he would do. Maybe go hug some trees and people now. That would really get rid of the austerity, 2 exclamation marks. Oops, there I go again being ad hominem. I respond, what makes you think I'm not working class? Even more than that, why is class even an issue? You do realize that the very notion of class is a divisive distinction, right? You make ad hominem comments at me, and then you claim that I'm belittling people. That's called projection. I said that when your opportunity came to actually bring something of substance, you resorted to ad hominem. That's just the fact of the situation. You may have something, but you're certainly not bringing it forward. Hug some trees? Can you get any more pathetic with yet another prima facie strawman? And you even acknowledge that you're committing a logical fallacy. You acknowledge it and you still do it. The level of cognitive dissonance is amazing. Person C responds, keep puffing on your weed, fella, and keep taking the handouts. You're far too intelligent for me, lol. I respond, are you even capable of conducting yourself in a mature manner and having a discussion? If you can, then let's have it. You think you're making fun of me by using these logical fallacies, but you're actually just demonstrating how childish you are. Person D comes in. We are in austerity. The economy was booming a few years back now. I think it won't be long until it's back like that again. The ship just needs steadying. I respond, the ship will not steady. The ship is sinking. How many times does someone have to tell you that infinite growth and infinite consumption on a finite planet is unsustainable? We do not live in an economy. The word denotes thrift, reduction and or absence of waste, preservation, protection, intelligent resource management, as per the Greek root oikonomia, the exact opposite of what this current system does. Thus, we live in an anti-economy. And then addressed to person A, because he made a comment, I noticed that you're not substantiating the communism straw man that you threw at me earlier. Is it because we both know it's ridiculous? Person A responds, stop hijacking every thread with your communistic drivel! Exclamation mark. Have you had any converts? Didn't think so. I respond, please by all means prove that what I advocate is communism. Just claiming so doesn't make it true, no matter how many times you repeat it. This should be a laugh. Person A responds, I'll explain that when you explain how you're going to automate my vet in detail with drawings. I respond, you obviously don't understand the concept of burden of proof, which by the way you gave yourself by asserting that what I advocate is communism. Now how's about you meet that burden of proof? Oh, and as for your vet, feel free to Google a machine called the Da Vinci surgical system. Person A responds, Adam, you're trying valiantly to apply the scientific method to the ramblings of a man you cross the street to avoid. Who? Who do I cross the street to avoid? I'm not going to engage in this any further as you are misguided. You believe in an ideology that I'm sure is all very nice on the surface, but failed to provide any substance or realistic alternative. Whether you call it ignorance or not, I am not going to entertain what you say other than to make fun of you. Wow, that's mature. You may point out a few nuanced differences between your beliefs and communism, but we both know, as does everyone else reading your BS, that the salient points are the same. No one of sound mind is going to listen to you. Whether you think this is unsustainable or not, it's happening and it's going to continue to happen because it works. And it's the best we have. Move to Cuba. I'm sure you'll be happy there. Capitalism works. It's survival of the fittest, which has got every organism to where it is today. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of explaining why each element of your harebrained plan will fall down under the first level of scrutiny, but I assure you it will. Yeah. Saying that without even providing that first level of scrutiny. Please let this go now, as I will not explain it again. I am not and never will be obliged to prove wrong the witterings of the mad. You do a good enough job highlighting your own madness without me. Wow. I respond, so you're unwilling and unable to meet your burden of proof. You're not in a position to chastise anyone for a lack of substance when you throw straw men at someone and can't even back it up. Do you even know exactly what it is that I advocate? You've gone from saying that it is communism to a dishonest appeal to discretion about nuances between the two. Doesn't sound like someone confident in their convictions to me. And quoting him, quote, but we both know, as does everyone else, end quote, and another quote, no one of sound mind is going to listen to you, end quote. These are what is known as an appeal to popularity fallacy, a very commonly used logical fallacy, often employed by someone who doesn't have the facts on their side. You seem to think that I'm the originator of this train of thought, and that I am failing in converting people. Oh dear, you really don't know anything about this train of thought, do you? You have a real defeatist way of looking at the current system. You wish for everyone to accept the unsustainability of it, just like you have. Sorry, but some people actually want to make the world a better place. Move to Cuba? If I'm not mistaken, Cuba also uses a monetary system, so I fail to see why you're using the fallacy of demanding that I emigrate. Capitalism works for a very small minority of people, the rich. However, I would love to find out how your conversations would go with the 2 billion people on this planet dying because capitalism does not and cannot care for them as well. Survival of the fittest is not actually a phrase uttered by Darwin or even implied by a Darwinian theory. Did you know that? That phrase was actually coined by Herbert Spencer, a far-right politician who wished to twist Darwinian theory for his own propaganda. I feel no threat of rebuttal from someone who gives it all the mouth that you could, but just won't. I think the relevant term is all mouth and no trousers. You can call me mad all you like. Just know that it is yet another logical fallacy, the ad hominem. All your petty sulking, name-calling and rhetoric hasn't turned out well for you, has it? Just in case if you wanted to get your facts straight, I give him the link to TZM's main website. Person D interjects, we do live on a finite planet. Of course we do. The universe is not finite, though. I respond, of course. However, besides the ISS, do we have the infrastructure to